This time on War Junk, we're in Hong Kong, a sprawling metropolis world-renowned for its dazzling skyline. We're here to search the battlefields in and around this great city. December 1941, a bloody battle rages in Hong Kong. Canadian and British troops face an advancing Japanese juggernaut. It ends in a shocking defeat for the Allies 3 weeks later. We're investigating the war junk left behind to see if we can solve a few mysteries about the battle. Why did one of the largest and most spectacular Allied fortresses fall in a matter of hours?
And so once they get by the guns, they get into the tunnels.
What dangers lurk beyond the skyscrapers of Hong Kong?
So if this thing goes up?
About a 10-meter kill radius.
And can a little piece of war junk bring a father and son together after 70 years?
This is a mystery that needs to be solved.
I'm Professor David O'Keefe.
And I'm history buff and filmmaker Wayne Abbott.
Together, we travel the globe searching for war junk.
Remnants, artifacts, anything left over on the battlefields.
Some big, some small.
All with a story to tell.
And a mystery or two to solve along the way.
So Dave, first time in Hong Kong.
Yep.
What's our day one tour agenda?
Well, today we're going to go up to the Shing Mun Redoubt. Redoubt. It's a fortress. And in this particular case, it was built into the side of the mountain. And this is what defended Hong Kong against the Japanese invasion.
The Japanese invasion came fast and furious just after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Strategically, Hong Kong had a major port, and the Japanese desperately wanted it. At this time, the city was much smaller and a quieter place. The Allies had a force of nearly 15,000 troops from the British Commonwealth, including the Winnipeg Grenadiers and the Royal Rifles of Canada. The Shing Mun Redoubt, this fortress buried in the mountain, was expected to hold out for weeks, if not months. But
it fell in 5 hours.
5 hours, that's all?
Once it fell, all of Hong Kong's fate was pretty much sealed.
What do we expect?
I've made arrangements for us to meet a relic hunter.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool because it's a labyrinth of tunnels and of bunkers and of pillboxes. A most amazing place.
Well, that's our type of war junk.
You got it.
the Shing Mun Redoubt was part of a 15-kilometer-long Allied defensive position, oddly called the Gin Drinkers Line. Named after the bay that existed nearby, it was drained after the Second World War and now houses a small city. The Shing Mun Redoubt was the heart of this line and the focus of our investigation.
I think we are here.
Looks like it.
We got a full day planned here.
We can't see this trail on the map, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to follow the contour lines as we go up and see if we can pick up any signs of where the redoubt starts.
What the hell's that?
Monkeys seem to be a little uptight today. And then jump into the...
Holy jeez. Where is that?
It's a monkey mugging. What's going on up there? I don't know, this is eerie. This is really eerie.
We haven't even got to the trailhead.
So basically, if we follow this map and follow the contours of the land, we can actually pop into the tunnels and then follow them along to our objective.
You're first.
All right, let's do it.
Despite the monkeys' warning cries, we were determined to explore the tunnels of the fortress. So we began our steep climb.
Staircase from hell.
Met a few locals along the way.
Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Hello.
And it didn't take long before we located a path.
Drainage. Now, you certainly wouldn't be building this to drain a mountainside unless there's some sort of fortification or some sort of structure up here. I'm going this way. Watch it.
Means I gotta follow.
Where are you?
I'm coming.
Yeah, you gotta watch it, though.
On the night of December 9th, the Japanese attacked the Gin Drinkers Line very close to where we are now. They came across the valley from the north and, under the cloak of darkness, breached the fortress. Very quickly, they took control. We wanted to get into the tunnels to see if we could find evidence as to why.
We got something down here. This looks like it's been hit quite hard. I don't think that's erosion.
So mounted the camera up, got everything rigged up, got the lights on. Just that first dip down into the tunnel was amazing. Here goes nothing. Oh. Wow.
What do you see?
I can't even describe it. It's like absolutely perfect.
Look at the size of this thing now.
And how tall are you?
Well, I'm about 6'4", 6'5". I can actually stand up on this. Definitely battle damage. This has been pounded. It's really amazing, though. The rest of the walls are intact. That's the only crack that's in here, with the exception of this being gone. Even with erosion 7 years later, this thing is still hanging together. What do we have down here? I think it's a junction.
Dave and I were like two kids in a candy store, because this is single-handedly one of the greatest pieces of war junk that we've ever seen. Piccadilly to Charing Cross. There was a beauty to it, even though it's a ruin. It was like I felt like I was on a movie set. Oh, it's amazing.
Well, we have a choice.
This is cool. So these are London streets.
It was the Middlesex Regiment that was here, and they were London boys. And to make it easier to get around, they decided they were going to use hometown names. So in the heat of battle, they wouldn't really have to worry. They could run off towards Regent, they could run off towards Shaftesbury, and know where they were.
This underground fortress, built between 1936 and 1938, is a unique and complex structure. The tunnels weave through and along the mountainside and exit at 5 pillboxes. These were the key to protecting the redoubt, but also keeping the gin drinkers' line intact.
What pillbox is this?
Well, this is 401, or what's left of it. When we arrived at the pillbox, I mean, it was completely destroyed with the exception of the walls that were still standing. Look at the view.
That's amazing.
This is why it was here. It commanded everything coming up that valley.
I'm gonna get across here.
And, you know, jumping down inside, you walk around and you try to imagine what it was like to be there right in the heat of battle. Wow, look at this. Look how tight it would have been to be down here. This, I guess, would have been the entry. And then you would have had your loophole here. And probably there was something to stand up on so you could fire out. But this whole thing has been blasted clear.
Now, was this close to the Japanese advance here?
But from my understanding, they came up farther to the west. And it's hard to tell now with this overgrowth whether they would have been able to see them or not.
Dave's the history guy. It was great as we continued through the tunnels, he was able to find and pinpoint some of the strengths and weaknesses of the redoubt.
This is actually quite big for a passageway, which actually is kind of smart because in the middle of battle, you have soldiers running to and fro everywhere, and we're sort of like on the feet of a spider here, the legs, and that the redoubt has been kind of, you know, superimposed onto the mountain. I'm starting to see a weakness here. These fire trenches had to be manned because if they're not, or if they fall to the Japanese, these are the perfect entry points to get in. This could be a critical flaw in the whole thing.
As seen from above, these fire trenches are scattered throughout the fortress, suggesting a very open concept to the design. Adding to this, we also came across a series of unusual features.
Well, this is a ventilation shaft for part of the redoubt, and from my understanding, these are the type of entryways that the Japanese used to compromise the redoubt. They were able to get up here in the night, pop into these, and they were able to take the British defenders from behind.
Well, isn't there a grate?
No, there's no grate, there's nothing on here. Now, I have no clue whether there was one during the war or not, but I mean, this is also pretty big.
This seems to be the Achilles heel of the fortress, and there was only one thing left for us to do.
We wanted to test the vent system. Who is the guinea pig? Me. Because I think I'm at least a third bigger than, say, a 1940s Japanese soldier.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Okay, so let's see if I can get down here. And I have no kit on, but let's just see.
Oh.
Sorry, man.
No, you're bringing the Shing Mun down on me, man.
There we go.
No, you're going the wrong way.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
No, let it go.
Okay, let it go. Good.
Coming up on War Junk,
Hello.
our hunt in Hong Kong continues. And can a tiny piece of war junk help bring a father and son together after 70 years?
Having located air vents in the fortress and believing they were a weak point in the design, we decided to run a little test.
So let's see if I can get down here. And I have no kit on, but let's just see.
Oh,
Sorry, man.
no, you're bringing the Shing Mun down on me, man. No, you're going the wrong way.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, no, you gotta get up.
I got it. Just let it go. I got it.
Okay, you got it? Okay,
I'm good.
let it go.
I'm good.
Good. Bring it down.
Successful. A little bit awkward, huh?
Yeah, really.
But, that is huge. I mean, it was fun, but, it's sobering to think that 70 years ago, most likely a Japanese soldier did do that.
Yeah, got in here and then just completely cleaned it out.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy how big they are.
Even I could have got through that vent, but I would have crushed you.
Let's go, man.
All right.
Adventure continues.
Though we were having a great time investigating the tunnels, our objective was the observation post, the highest point in the fortress. It's here we plan to meet Craig, a relic hunter and local historian.
Okay, this looks like what's left of the OP up here. Hear that? He must be over here. Craig?
Yeah.
Craig Mitchell.
Yeah, you must be Dave.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
good. Hi,
welcome
Dave
to-
O'Keefe.
Welcome to Hong Kong. How are you
Thanks a
doing?
lot, that's Wayne Abbott.
Hi, Wayne. How are you doing?
Good, man.
Very nice to meet you.
So, started without us.
I had to. I'm not going to sit up here fully armed and not get out and have a little dig around.
So this is the OP we're on, the observation post.
Yes, we're standing pretty much right on top of it right now. The entrance is just down over here with views looking out more or less all the way around over here.
Okay. As we were coming through the tunnels, there were a lot of questions that were going through our minds, particularly the tunnel ventilation systems, the Japanese dispositions, the pillboxes themselves.
I think there were a number of elements that sort of came together to contribute the loss of this being so fast. First of all, the topography of the ground over here, which is where the Japanese came from. There's a lot of hills, there's a lot of valleys, and it's really easy to get lost in there, to be not seen from this location here.
Dead ground is what
That's
they
right,
call
that's right. The Japanese knew about it, and they took advantage of it, so they came all the way in here without being spotted.
But what about the pillboxes now? Because when we got down there, we saw one that was just absolutely shattered. But were those pillboxes able to cover the whole territory?
They were able to cover, but the Japanese got into our lines before we realized that they were there. So by the time we knew they were there, they were more or less on top of us or coming into the side. So our guns were not pointing in the right direction. They were more or less behind us and on top of us when they attacked.
This is why the Shing Mun fell so quickly. The Japanese got to the fortress so easily that they could use the vent shafts and fire trench openings as a way to breach the tunnels. The Redoubt was doomed because of this design flaw. But there was one other key reason.
On the day of the attack, there was less than 50 Royal Scots were manning this area here.
I mean, the whole area, all the tunnels we've come through, all of the observation
pillboxes,
posts,
the observation posts, everything. So there was less than 50 men in this position.
So thoroughly undermanned then.
That's right. Lastly, I think complacency. I just don't think the British thought the Japanese would choose what we thought was the strongest part of our line to be their first point of attack. So I think they just caught us on the hop. We just didn't expect them to be so quick to get to this point and know so much about it so that they could infiltrate so quickly.
And so once they get by the guns, they get into the tunnels, game over.
That's right, we're fighting a losing battle.
So the Redoubt, though structurally sound, had too many design flaws. From my point of view, without sufficient manpower, there was no way to hold back the weight of the Japanese onslaught. But 70 years later, the Shing Mun Redoubt is still an incredible piece of war junk to explore.
I don't think it's much further up.
Now it's time to do a little digging with Craig.
So hopefully once we get to the top, we might find some Japanese artifacts. What we do know is that once the Royal Scots lost the position just below us, they retreated back to this hill right behind me over here, which is called Golden Hill. Once they did that, the Japanese would have come straight up here, and they would have positioned themselves up on this hill, looking straight at them. So I suspect that if we look around over here, there should be some sort of slit trenches or at least some sort of evidence of excavation getting done. So if you keep your eyes peeled, there might be something around here.
Yeah, this is great. He just burrows in there, right?
Here we go. Here's what looks to be another slit trench from about here down to about there, about metre and a half, 2 meters or something.
That makes sense.
I think that's just big old can.
I felt like a kid, if you will, watching Craig do this. And of course, every time there was a hit and a beep, I was all excited. Anything?
No, not much here, I'm afraid, mate.
But unfortunately, we didn't come away with anything today. I mean, have you been able to, you know, get yourself a collection of stuff over the years?
Yeah, over the last few years, I've managed to accumulate quite an impressive collection, actually.
Wow.
I would love to show you.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, we get a chance to actually get over and see some real war junk, pick it up.
In your hands, you can have a feel for it if you like.
Remember the crazed monkeys we met in the morning? They came back with a vengeance and a serious hunger.
I was coming up with everything, all the crew lunch and everything else, and I was swarmed by monkeys.
And I was using the camera as my defensive weapon. All I could hear is this man screaming. I think for a war junk scene, it might be the best one we shot.
Yeah, when monkeys attack. So 70 years after the battle, you're still picking things like this off the battlefield.
Coming up, Craig shows us his collection and sets us on a journey where a little piece of war junk may give us the biggest story. And we go hunting for a cache of lost weapons where other deadly things may be buried.
Is that a shell or a rock?
I don't know, mate. I don't know just yet. Let's just take it a little bit easy.
We're going to meet Craig Mitchell. Ironically, he works at the cricket club, which was the site of one of the biggest battles on the whole island.
He never helps with the gear.
Great, this is absolutely gorgeous, this place.
It's lovely now, but I don't think you would have wanted to be here about 17
years ago, eh? This was actually the site of one of the fiercest battles?
This particular location now is pretty much the epicenter of the fiercest fighting for the Battle of Hong Kong. Every which direction from where we're standing now, hundreds of men lost their lives in the space of 48 hours.
After the Shing Mun Redoubt fell, the Allies retreated to these hills on Hong Kong Island. On December 18, 1941, Japanese forces crossed the harbor to the island. The battle in the Wong Nai Chung Gap raged furiously for 2 days near the present-day cricket club.
The Japanese came in. They came up over these mountains, and then they ended up taking on the Canadian and British positions that were on this side.
That's right. Where we are now is right in the very center of Hong Kong Island. So this was a very strategic position.
So in other words, if we're looking for war junk, these are the two areas that are probably the best place in all of Hong Kong?
This was where the heaviest fighting took place, so yes, you will find a lot of stuff within 500 meters from where we're standing. We've done quite a few areas of sort of extensive searching. We found a few sort of interesting items.
Really? Wow, now this is what war junk's about. Look at this piece. Oh my God. Is this what, a 75 millimeter shell?
That's right, 75 millimeter mountain gun, Japanese.
When I saw his collection for the first time, it was quite apparent he'd been out in the field doing a lot of work. Now, he's only been doing this for a couple of years, but he's come away with some really amazing stuff. Now, this is something that caught my eye as well when I came in. Now, is this a Japanese or a
No, this is actually, that's actually an Allied one, yeah.
Allied bayonet. And where did you find this?
Less than 500 meters that direction.
So this took part, all this stuff was found based on the battle here?
Within a kilometer of where we're standing from now. If you like that one, I've got something else I want to show you over here. This is quite special. That is actually a Japanese Type 38 rifle, which took a 6.5 millimeter slug.
Jeez, look at this. So all the wood is gone, and this is the only thing that's left from it.
And when did you find that?
Not so long ago, actually, about 2 months ago, I found this. And the reason it looks like this is that it's halfway through getting renovated right now.
So 70 years after the battle, you're still picking things like this off the battlefield.
I'm very lucky to have found that one, yeah.
Looking at all the war junk on the table was absolutely amazing. And of course, holding the rifle and the bayonet was fantastic. But it's sometimes the little things that really get your attention. Now this, of all the things you have here, this kind of caught my eye because I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. It looks like it's an M, and then I think that's a C, am I right?
That's right, yes. It's been broken in half and it's a little bit bent, so...
What was it?
I believe it is half of a Royal Army Medical Corps shoulder flash.
Royal Army Medical Corps.
I believe it came across the top there. I found it not so far away,
Where?
just over there, just by where that petrol station is, just over there, not too far away.
So what do you know about it so far?
I've narrowed it down through a little bit of research to maybe about 5 or 6 individuals who I think it could have come from.
Well, that would make sense because there weren't a lot of Royal Army Medical Corps.
There would have only been a handful in this particular location.
Wow. 70 years later, this is pulled from the ground. So if you've narrowed this down to 5, you haven't been able to go any farther with the research?
That's as far as I've got so far.
Now, this is what War Junk's all about. This is a mystery that needs to be solved. So with your permission, we're going to take some photographs of this, and we're going to send it back to our research team, and then let's see if we can actually take this little piece of war junk and put a face or a name to this.
Anything you could uncover on that would be wonderful.
All right, that's what we're going to do now.
Be wonderful.
Fantastic.
I mean, what's the likelihood, do you think, that we can tie this to somebody?
I'm not really sure. If we can narrow this down somehow and put this little shoulder flash to a name, then we have got one of the biggest pieces of war junk, despite the fact that it's tiny in size. Craig is taking us relic hunting today. So exactly where is it we're going today?
We're actually going to go to this mountain here, just on my right-hand side.
You know, we've been on battlefields before, but when we were in the car, he threw something at me that was a complete game changer.
It's the furthest west that the Japanese managed to push. On the very top of that tiny little summit, there are 150, mostly Canadian grenadiers, but there was a mixture of other sort of smaller groups of soldiers up there defending. And they spent 3 days surrounded by the Japanese. But before they came down, they buried all of their weapons.
All of their weapons?
All of their weapons.
So what are we looking? What are we looking at? Rifles?
We're looking for Vickers machine guns. We're looking for a few Bren machine guns. We're looking for possibly some 45 handguns, some Colt 45s, really? Smith & Wesson 38s.
Anything and everything that the company was using at the time.
If it was dangerous and could be used to hurt your own colleagues, they didn't bring it down.
Okay, so for 70 years, this cache of weapons has been sitting up there untouched.
Untouched.
And no one's found it at all.
No one's found it yet.
So you think there is like 150 weapons like buried up there that nobody's found?
Well, I believe the reports that they buried them before they came down to the Japanese, and in 70 years I have not heard of a single person to come across them yet, and I don't think there are that many people out, first of all, knowing about the story, but second of all, that have the means to go out and search for them.
Lock and load, rock and roll, let's go.
Coming up, we're hot on the hunt for that cache of weapons.
Hello.
That's a pretty big piece of metal, mate.
And the shoulder flash story heats up.
And the interesting part is he narrows down our choices to 3 men who were with him.
This is big. This is huge.
Lock and load, rock and roll, let's go. Yeah, today we're going relic hunting with Craig Mitchell. The place is called Bennett's Hill.
Bennett's Hill is on the southern part of Hong Kong Island. Here, Canadian and British troops made their final stand prior to surrendering on Christmas Day, 1941. Reports say that the soldiers buried a cache of 150 weapons on this hill in an effort to keep them out of Japanese hands. To date, no one has found them.
What's this say? Warning, the footpath ahead is treacherous. Oh, we are going through the jungle.
Snagged on everything.
Gotta get down low here.
This isn't your typical hiking trail, and Craig forgot to warn us about the gnarly terrain.
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm doing great.
I don't even know how you're getting through here.
pack mules.
Since this isn't a well-worn path, we have to be aware of other dangers like leftover landmines, shells, and grenades from the war. So the further we go and the more remote we get, we have to watch our step.
Is that Bennett's Hill in front of us?
That's it. Right, just there where it starts to sort of just go up to the left there. That's where we're going to search.
I didn't think it would be so thick.
No, I didn't either.
First area here, I think we'll try and search here. There's a couple of big rocks over here which would have been good shelter back in the day. Now, because we're up in the middle of nowhere, we're going to leave it on all metals because pretty much anything that's metal up here
is suspicious.
Should be.
Yeah.
The one that we need to avoid and one that's pretty dangerous is on the very far left. If it comes up with an iron signal, that could be an artillery shell or a grenade, or it could be anything, but those are the ones we need to worry about. Okay. Don't go crashing in with the spade just yet. All right, let's get hunting.
The use of metal detectors in Hong Kong is permitted. For Craig, this is a labor of love, and one day he expects his collection to be put into a museum. Needless to say, adding this cache of rifles today would be an incredible addition.
Hello.
Have you got something down there?
Yeah, take a look at this.
Wow, let's have a look what you got.
Look at this, 2 of them, eh?
Well, you got a 303 there.
Looks like both a 303, right?
Just on top of the...
Yeah, look at this, just hanging out on the ground. I mean, it makes sense when you've got rock surface and everything here.
And their rifle.
Look at that, that's so cool.
How do you know they're rifle as opposed to...
From the pin.
From the pin, yeah.
That tiny little pin there's a rifle one. A Bren would have a much deeper sort of a rectangle square to it. Wow. And if we, very carefully, if we're lucky enough to get a little bit of a head stamp, we might be able to try and narrow down where this came from. We can tell from the head stamp on here that these were most likely not from the Canadians, but probably from either the Royal Scots were in this area or Dockyard Defence Unit as well. These were made in the UK.
From the head stamp, you can tell exactly where and when the shell was made. On this one, the RL stands for Royal Laboratories, which was located outside of London. It was made in 1933 and is a Mark VII type cartridge.
Either way, these are, these little pieces of war junk are basically, souvenirs from Christmas Day.
Lying right there on the surface,
Yeah, all these years later.
Good start, mate. First 5 minutes.
It's our first piece.
First piece of war junk, yeah, there
discovered. It is. The team pushed on through this gnarly brush. It was amazing how much we found.
Okay, well, that's a solid hit. Second, it is.
Okay.
It's in here. There it is.
This
there
point?
it is. That's it right in there.
Yeah, look at it.
Another 303 shell just there. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Look.
Where?
Here it is.
Oh, that's
45
tiny.
cal.
Oh, that's a pistol.
It could either be a pistol
or a Thompson submachine gun.
I'm guessing it's a Thompson. Another 303. This is interesting. This one's from a Bren, though. DAQ, which is Dominion Arsenal of Quebec, 1940.
And that's from a Bren gun.
From a Bren gun.
We got our first piece of Canadian war junk.
Shell after shell after shell, it's one find after another. And all I kept thinking was, when are we going to hit the cache?
That's a pretty big piece of metal, mate. Okay, I think it's this. Feels like metal.
Right down there.
Right there?
Coming up, have we uncovered the cache of weapons or something more ominous?
Feels like metal to me.
Really? Right here?
There.
Right there?
Is that they were taken over to that hill just over there.
And we get closer to solving the mystery of the shoulder flash.
Okay, that's not just interesting, lad. That seals it.
Hey, hold on, guys. Davey.
Yeah?
Just got an email in.
So as we're working on the top of the hill, an email comes in from our research team.
Good news from our research team, okay?
Are you serious, yeah?
Yeah.
Apparently, they have come across something that may reveal more about the shoulder flash that Craig discovered. Hey team, good news. Possibly narrowed down RMAC personnel in Wong Nai Chung Gap. Only a few names. Has Craig heard of a Captain Barkley?
Yes, I think he was the senior officer of that area.
Okay, it says we are waiting for a report to be sent from the National Archives in London. We'll be back to you soon.
How's that?
Well, that's interesting. It sounds like we've got something here.
That seems a positive lead to me.
All right.
Good work.
Well, so far, let's see if it matches up to Barclay. Hello.
For the next few hours, it was like ping, 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 shell after shell after shell.
What's really unique about this was the variety of shells we were picking up. So you know that this was the company position up here. So there's a good chance that that cache is somewhere in this area. As I'm moving closer to where Craig's position was, I realize he's up to almost waist deep in a hole. The problem was, I was expecting to see dirt and rocks. He's throwing out cans. There's something there.
And it looks like it's some sort of a gun pit here, probably about sort of 2 or 3 meters wide by about 2 meters thick. This is exactly what we should be looking for. I mean, if you've already dug one of these out and you need to bury something, you would just put your stuff at the bottom of it and then just backfill it in. So let's see what we can find.
And here he is again, digging and digging and digging. He's removing rocks, he's removing roots.
It looks like we've taken away the cans.
So there's still something down here then?
It appears that way.
The detector is giving off this incredible sound, unlike anything I've heard so far.
It's big.
It's big.
Watching Craig dig, I mean, it was like he was possessed.
I think it's in here. I think I felt
It's in there.
Yeah, I think it's more here.
And I could see at that moment why these relic hunters do what they do. It's an exciting thing to uncover history, uncover something that has been buried for years. The one thing I didn't anticipate is what he was going to uncover.
It feels like metal to me. That.
Really? Right here?
There.
Right there?
Wait,
Look out, watch out, watch out, watch out. Oh, yes.
Holy Jesus, what is that?
Oh, that's nice. There we go, look at that. A shell or a rock?
I don't know, mate. I don't know just yet. Let's just take it a little bit easy. Okay, we want to leave this. This is a grenade. That's a Mills grenade. It's a round item that big.
Yeah.
Slightly curved.
Uh-huh.
Pineapple.
Pineapple in shape. We got a grenade.
I think so. The Japanese are a lot straighter down the side and they have a much squarer bottom, whereas this is slightly curved. And if you look carefully down there, you can almost see the pineapple shape. And then just to confirm what it is, this is actually the top end.
Mm-hmm.
And just there, you can sort of see like a very small circle about the size of my finger.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually where the filler cap goes. So they make the grenade casing, and then they pour the TNT into that, and then they fill it up when they're ready to ship it. So that just confirms that this is actually a British or a Canadian M36 grenade.
You have no clue now by looking at this whether the pin's in or not?
No, we don't. We don't know if that's been thrown and it's a dud, or if it's still got the safety latch and pin attached.
And being here for 70 years may not be in stable condition anyway.
I wouldn't have thought so.
If this thing goes off?
10-meter kill radius, gone.
Well, I guess that's the end of our journey today, because if we go any farther, it just may be our last one.
Let's head for a dignified retreat, shall we?
Definitely, yes. Beat a hasty retreat out of here.
Let's do it.
For safety, Craig reburied the grenade, GPS marked it, and informed the police. The bomb squad eventually came along and blew it up long after we were gone.
Unfortunately, we didn't get our big objective, the cache, but boy, did we come away with one hell of a story.
All said and done, digging up war junk on Mount Bennett, it was a blast. Almost.
After the incredible expedition to Bennett's Hill, we received great news regarding the shoulder flash that Craig found. 2 files were sent to us overnight from our research team. These reports could help solve the mystery.
It was written by a sergeant from the Royal Army Medical Corps who survived the battle. And the interesting part is he narrows down our choices to 3 men who were with him. It's either a Captain Barkley, a Private Evans, or a Private Jones.
Well, Barkley is what the research team talked about.
That's right.
First, right? But
yeah, well, it gets better. They were all taken prisoner at the advanced dressing station. They were then marched up a hill where they were tied to trees, tortured. They made an incredible daring escape. Now, the interesting part for us, they ended up splitting up and going in separate directions. Evans and Jones one way, Barkley the other.
well, that's good info.
So if we can get Craig to take us to where he found this, and we cross-reference it with their directions, then we'll know.
This is big. This is huge.
So in the report, where it keeps referring to the medical aid post,
Yeah.
it is just behind me on that slope just there.
So that's where it would have been in 1941.
That's right. That's where they would have been held captive for a couple of days until they surrendered, and then they came out.
After that, they said something about taken to a place overlooking this aid station.
Is that they were taken over to that hill just over there. So this is it,
So this is the area then that's overlooking the dressing station.
which is just down there. And this is, I suspect, the area where they were tied to a tree. They were tortured until they made their daring escape. And where it says down here that 2 of them decided to head towards Shaki 1, that's that direction.
Okay.
But Barkley, Captain Barkley, he decides to go to Stanley,
Which is where?
which is that direction.
Barkley's decision to go to Stanley is an interesting one. It was the location of the hospital where he worked, and eventually the last Allied stronghold before the surrender.
And this is the exact spot I found it.
Right here.
Right here, right here.
This tiny little piece of war junk was right here. Now, how far are we away from where they split up?
We're about 400 meters to the south of where they were held against a tree.
Okay.
But what really makes this interesting, Barkley headed towards Stanley. Stanley is this direction, while his other comrades
Everybody else.
went the other direction.
Okay, that's not just interesting, lad. That seals it. I mean, this is the only thing that was here. Barkley was the only person who came by here, the only one who could have been wearing a Royal Army Medical Corps shoulder flash.
That's what it looks like,
So there's only one conclusion. This has to be Barkley's.
right here.
I think the next step is we're going to see if we can find somebody from Captain Barkley's family and maybe return this to him.
Coming up, a 70-year-old mystery is finally solved by the smallest and most seemingly insignificant piece of war junk.
Barkley was the only person who came by here, the only one who could have been wearing a Royal Army Medical Corps shoulder flash.
That's what it looks like, right here.
Of course, this battle only raged for 3 weeks, and the battle around here only for a couple of days, and then that was it. Nothing else touched this area through the entire war. No other battle, no other fight. It could only be Barkley's.
Our challenge now was to find a member of Captain Barkley's family. This seemed daunting at first, but using information from the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, we located a Barkley family living in New Zealand. Astonishingly, we managed to find his son, Jim, a 70-year-old cattle farmer from New Zealand. Immediately, we arranged for him to fly to Hong Kong to meet us.
This is incredible. I mean, doing what we've done, I thought was a 1,000,000 to 1 shot. But now bringing a guy all the way from New Zealand to walk the same path that his father did, that's just off the charts.
So, Jim, I mean, it's amazing that our research team found you so quickly.
And quite frankly, a shock.
Shocked that we called you in regards to your
Yes,
father.
absolutely.
At this time, Jim knew nothing of the shoulder flash and the story behind it. But I also didn't know much about his story and what he knew of his father.
I was a baby of about 4 months old. The women and children were asked that were made to evacuate the island of Hong Kong. We were taken to the Philippines.
And at that point, your father never saw you again.
Never saw us again.
And did it affect your mother deeply?
She never really talked about the war, and she didn't talk about him to us children. She married again in 1945.
And have you ever wondered about him?
I have wondered about him. I had a photograph, but my mother never tried to make me feel emotionally attached to a person I didn't know.
Up until now, though, you've had no information about how he died, where he died.
No information at all. Nothing.
Bringing Jim over, we didn't want to reveal anything about our information until he met Craig. Jim? Craig Mitchell?
Very nice to meet you.
Craig is a local.
I see.
I was born and raised here in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And Craig has been searching the island, finding artifacts.
At weekends, myself and a few colleagues, we like to go over some of the battlefields to sort of survey and sort of see what's happening around there. About a year ago, we found a very small item on the floor. I've managed to identify it as being a shoulder flash coming from a Royal Army Medical Corps. Would you like to hold it?
How extraordinary. Do you think that's related to my father?
And it was just over here.
When Craig brought us the story, we put our war junk research team onto it, and they were able to come up with a couple of reports that were done after the war about Japanese atrocities that occurred here.
Right.
Unfortunately, your father's name appears in both of them. They're rather sensitive reading.
Right.
But I think it's really important that you have them in connection with this.
I see. Well, that is a revelation, and I'm very grateful to receive it.
No,
It's
you're
very
very
sobering reading, but it's at least it brings some finality to a situation that none of us really knew about.
This is the exact spot where I found that shoulder flash, and it does tie in with the accounts that we've uncovered where it says that your father was detained up over on this location here. He was heading straight over towards Stanley, which is that direction there.
It feels extraordinary. I came with a quite open mind, but fairly cynical and sort of sceptical about what I would find, and what I've discovered is really shed a new light and new insights onto my father's life. And so this is the last known place where he would have gone past. The location all ties in with the written reports of the time, and I'm more than totally convinced that this belongs to my father.
Jim had one final request for us, to take him to his father's grave for the very first time. But this war junk story had one more twist.
Yeah, there's some things that are rather unexpected in this. And we arrived here at the Saiwan Military Cemetery to bring Jim to see the grave of his father. When we arrived, we were a little shocked to find out that there is no grave.
We thought we had a plot number, and it actually is a column number, which means his name is etched on a wall of soldiers whose bodies were never found. We had to tell him there was no grave, that Captain Barclay was never found, and I don't know how he was going to take it.
We realized that there is no plot, only his name on the wall, meaning his body was never found.
The start and the end of a journey, because I just didn't know that this existed, and I didn't know this existed. I knew that he was buried here, and I thought he was buried here, and now I know that he was never found.